One dark day that would lead to one of the darkest times for America. Earth, a new flag was raised to the skies in a proclamation. South Carolina had seceded from the United States this day, December 20th of 1860. This marked the beginning of the chaos to follow, the beginning of the gaping crack between the North and the South. This first sparked war, a quake that shook the nation to the bone.
Lincoln didn't get much education as he was growing up, but he read books whenever he could. After the Black Hawk War in 1832, he went to study law and was soon involved in politics, running for Illinois state legislator, but was turned down only to be accepted the next time. He ran for president against Stephen Douglas in 1858 and won in 1860. The effect of his election came to be that the South was so angry about him being president that they went and attacked Fort Sumter, angering the North, starting the beginning of the Civil War. A few months later, the Battle of Bull Run, also known as the Battle of Manassas, broke out when the Union decided to fight against the Confederates, as they already had when they started the war by attacking Fort Sumter. The Union was expected to win, until the Confederates ended up kicking their bums pretty bad. The outcome was both sides of the country were surprised how bloody the actual wars would be and how long it would last, affecting the people's minds and welfare.
September 19th of 1861, another battle began. The Confederate Army, led by General Sterling Price, attacked the Federal Union's defense of Lexington. The force of the army was 18,000 total troops, rather strong. Continuously, Price led his troops to attack Lexington again, with full intention of overwhelming his enemy. Price's attacks easily fended off the Union's response of 1,000 men with 3,000 of his own. It was easy to foresee that Lexington won't be able to stay out of Confederate hands any longer. The Union surrendered Lexington to avoid more conflicts, and the Confederates won the siege. Of course, General Price lost Lexington later on when it was clear he could not hold the city nor keep his men together.
Not long after, the Battle of 7 Days was started by the Union, currently being led by General McClellan, who was up against General Lee of the South. McClellan was trying to capture Richmond, which was the capital of the Confederate States at the time, hoping to reunite the states together once more, but without solving the problem of slavery. However, General Lee had a plan saving Richmond and ended up driving the Union army back up to Bull Run, where they had the second battle of Manassas.
The Civil War was drawing to a close after several more battles spanning 4 years, long after the Battle of 7 Days. Both sides were weakened from the war, but yet the North began overpowering the South. The North would most likely win the war, and the United States would no longer be separated much. Lincoln had been playing with the idea of passing the 13th Amendment to permanently abolish slavery, either to defeat the South easily or for simple morale. Torn by the people with different opinions of the matter, it was then that Lincoln decided to abolish slavery even when it was obvious the North was going to defeat the South without the amendment. The war continued on for some time as the South rarely fought desperately to keep their slaves. Later, Lincoln succeeded in bringing the North and South together while abolishing slavery. It's up to Lincoln to sew the nation back together after the war that tore it apart.
Is where we part ways.
Although the war ended in 1865, tragedy continued. The very hero of the Union was lost to death by John Wilkes Booth, who killed Abraham Lincoln on April 14, 1865, only 5 days after the American Civil War ended. Booth and others had grown up believing in slavery, and that Lincoln was going to ignore the Constitution and destroy the South. But Lincoln was against slavery and wanted to abolish it as opportunities of ending the war were given, but he also wanted the country to become united again. When Lincoln died, it was the hardest time for the country. This was the man that had been binding up the nation's wounds. As the Union won the war, the beginning of making amends started. This led to a time called Reconstruction, where the Southern states would be allowed back into the Union once they swore an oath, which led to the Black. Following the death of Abraham Lincoln and his goals he had yet to accomplish, the Southern states created laws allowing African Americans the right to marry legally, have their own property, and limited access to courts. However, these laws could be used as disadvantages to African Americans because they could not testify against white men, apply for a job without permission, join and serve in juries, militas, or vote. The laws were fixed for a little while, and then turned into pig laws in 1877, which were kept until the Jim Crow era ended in 1966.
Freedom to all races was beginning to form in America after the Black Codes, a period of time after the war ended, in the form of the Civil Rights Act in 1866, in which citizenship and most of the rights enjoyed by white citizens were granted to every male person, regardless of race or color or previous conditions of involuntary servitude. Need food. Need more.
Emo, focus!
Alright. Give me granola bar first. I need to power up.
Ah, fine. America took a turn for the better as rights were granted to other races. The Civil Rights Act was originally vetoed by the President, Andrew Johnson, but he was overruled by a 2/3 vote from the Congress. This began the Civil Rights Movement, which continued for years and years up to the 1960s, when the government officially made everyone equal by making extreme racism, segregation, violence, etc. illegal and punishable by law. Just as the future looked slightly brighter than before, a new organization rose to power, extremely strong in the dark side, extremely strong, racist, extremely strong, Sith. The world continues on, moving on from the past. As it continues, it changes. The Civil War ended and the Civil Rights Movement continued. But what happens? You can find out with a time and relative dimension to space. Travel through space and time and watch the universe change before your very eyes. Call 999-777-TIME for more information. Limited, the purchase includes a fully equipped ferry-class ship with a hyperspace drive built in. Get one soon!